Hello, everyone, and welcome to Easy English Talks podcast. Today we're going to be diving into something that's super important for your English learning journey.
Oh, yeah.
Building confidence in speaking English.
Oh, it's a good one.
Now, we know that all of you listeners are all about learning quickly and efficiently.
Of course.
So we'll make sure that this deep dive is absolutely packed with aha moments and clear takeaways.
Awesome.
So to kick things off,
Yeah.
a lot of people think that confidence is something you're either born with or you're not.
It's funny, isn't it? Like some people just have it and some people, just don't.
Exactly.
But it's actually a skill.
Really?
Yeah, you can develop it, just like learning vocabulary or grammar.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's like building a muscle.
Totally.
And speaking of muscles, one of the things that really jumped out at me from the research was how beneficial confidence is for your overall progress in English.
I mean, it makes sense, right? The more you speak, the more practice you get. And the more practice you get, the more confident you become.
Yeah.
It's like a positive cycle.
Exactly. It's like a snowball,
Yeah.
rolling downhill, gaining momentum as it goes.
I like that.
But here's the catch.
Oh.
Confidence isn't about being perfect.
Oh.
In fact, the research actually emphasizes that it's the opposite.
So you're telling me I don't have to be perfect.
You don't have to be perfect.
That's a relief.
Because perfectionism can actually be a major roadblock.
Interesting.
What's really important is to shift your focus
Okay.
from trying to speak flawlessly to simply being understood.
So it's more about getting your message across
Exactly.
than trying to sound like a textbook.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of pressure off, right?
Absolutely, because you're not aiming for this unattainable level of perfection.
Yeah.
You're just trying to communicate.
Exactly.
And that opens up a whole world of possibilities.
It does, but even with that in mind,
Yeah.
there are still some common fears that hold people back from speaking with confidence, like the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I think we can all relate to that one.
Totally.
It's so normal to feel nervous about messing up, especially when you're speaking another language.
Yeah, and everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah, even native speakers.
Oh, for sure.
Every time.
So the key here is to kind of reframe your perspective.
Okay.
Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, view them as valuable feedback.
That's a good way to look at it.
I love that because those oops moments are actually stepping stones
Yeah.
on your path to fluency.
I like that analogy.
And the research suggests a few ways to deal with this fear.
Okay.
For example, instead of aiming for perfect grammar, try just focusing on simply getting your point across.
So communication over grammar.
Exactly. And it's more about connecting with the person you're talking to than impressing them with perfect grammar.
It's about building relationships
Yeah.
and having genuine interactions.
Yes. And that brings us to another common fear.
Uh-oh. What's that?
Worrying about your accent.
Oh, the accent.
So many learners feel like they need to sound exactly like a native speaker.
Like they need to erase their accent completely.
Yes, to be understood.
Right.
But the research actually challenges that idea in a really interesting way.
Oh, tell me more.
Instead of seeing your accent as something to hide, embrace it as part of your unique identity.
I like that.
It's a reflection of your background and your language learning journey.
It's part of your story.
It's like your accent is part of your story.
I love that.
And instead of trying to eliminate it entirely, just focus on improving your pronunciation
Okay.
so that you can be clearly understood.
So you're not trying to get rid of the accent completely.
No.
Just making sure it's not hindering communication.
Exactly.
That's great.
Your accent adds flavor and richness to your English.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like a spice.
Exactly.
It adds a little something special to the dish.
It does.
The key is to make sure it doesn't overpower everything else.
Right. And now what about the fear of being judged by others?
Ooh, that's a big one.
I think that's a big one for a lot of learners.
It is.
They worry about people making fun of their mistakes or thinking they're not good enough.
It's understandable to feel that way, but the reality is that most people are incredibly impressed by language learners.
Really?
They admire the effort and dedication it takes to learn another language.
That's so true. Most people see it as a sign of intelligence and determination, not something to be mocked.
Exactly.
And if you do encounter someone who's not so supportive,
Yeah.
the research suggests surrounding yourself with people who are.
Good advice.
Seek out language partners, join online communities, or connect with friends and family who will encourage you on your journey.
So it's all about creating a positive and supportive environment.
Yes.
Where you feel comfortable taking risks and making mistakes.
Exactly. And speaking of mistakes, let's talk about those moments.
Uh-oh.
When you completely blank and forget a word or a grammar rule.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
We have those brain freeze moments.
Yes, the dreaded brain freeze.
It can be frustrating.
It can be, but they're totally normal.
They are.
It happens to everyone.
I like to think of them as little mental hiccups.
I like that.
And the research actually offers some great tips for dealing with them.
Okay, like what?
One suggestion is to normalize pausing and thinking during a conversation.
Okay,
Instead of panicking, just take a moment to gather your thoughts.
that's good advice.
You can even use filler phrases.
Oh, filler phrases.
Like, let me see, or how do I say this?
Those are good ones.
To buy yourself some time.
Yeah,
Those filler phrases are like little lifesavers, aren't they?
they are.
They help you keep the conversation flowing smoothly,
Yeah.
even when you're feeling a bit lost.
Absolutely. And the research emphasizes that those pauses don't make you look less fluent.
Really?
Yeah, in fact, they can make you appear more thoughtful and deliberate
Oh, interesting.
because you're taking your time,
Yeah.
you're considering your words,
Right.
and you're not just rushing to fill the silence.
So it's not about trying to speak at lightning speed, but about finding a pace that feels comfortable for you
Exactly.
and using those pauses strategically to enhance your communication.
Now, we've talked about the benefits of confidence. We've tackled some common fears.
Yes.
But how do we actually go about building that confidence?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Where research provides some practical tips
Okay.
that I think you'll find helpful.
I'm all ears. I know our listeners are eager to hear some actionable strategies they can start using right away.
Well, the first tip is a classic,
Okay.
but it's a classic for a reason.
All right. I'm intrigued.
Start small.
Don't try to run a marathon before you can walk.
Exactly. Instead of jumping into complex conversations right away,
Yeah.
begin with simple interactions.
Okay.
Think greetings, small talk, ordering food things you feel comfortable with.
It's like dipping your toes in the water before diving into the deep end.
I like that.
And the research suggests doing this with people you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Friends, family, or fellow language learners.
People you trust.
Yeah, creating a safe and supportive environment is crucial in those early stages.
Absolutely.
Now, once you started small,
Yeah.
the next step is to make practice a regular part of your routine.
Okay.
The research recommends dedicating just 10 to 15 minutes each day
That's not too bad.
to speaking English.
10 to 15 minutes, anybody can do that.
That seems manageable even for busy learners.
Totally.
And there are so many ways to do this even if you don't have someone to practice with.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can narrate your day, read aloud, practice common phrases in front of a mirror, or even use language learning apps that offer speaking exercise.
Lots of options.
So many options. It's all about finding ways to integrate speaking into your daily life, even in small ways.
Yeah,
Those little moments of practice add up over time.
they do.
And you know what else can be really helpful?
What's that?
Role-playing.
Oh, role-playing, yeah.
Role-playing is a fantastic way to practice specific scenarios
Yeah.
and build confidence in situations you might encounter in real life,
Like what kind of situations?
like asking for directions, making introductions, or even handling a difficult conversation.
That's a good one.
The more you rehearse these situations, the more prepared and confident you'll feel when they come up naturally.
That makes sense.
And you don't necessarily need a partner for this.
Oh, really?
There are language learning apps that offer role-playing exercises.
Cool.
Or you could even imagine yourself in different situations
Okay.
and practice how you would respond.
So it's like giving yourself a mental workout.
Exactly.
Ugh.
In English. Now, speaking of technology,
Yes?
there's another tip that I found really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Recording yourself.
Ooh, recording yourself.
Recording yourself is a powerful tool
I can see that.
for self-assessment and improvement.
Tell me more.
It allows you to listen back to your pronunciation,
Okay.
identify any grammatical errors,
Uh-huh.
and even notice things like your pace and fluency.
So it's like having your own personal language coach
Exactly.
in your pocket.
And the best part is you can do this in the privacy of your own home
Yeah,
without feeling self-conscious.
that's great.
Exactly. It's a judgment-free zone where you can focus on identifying your strengths and areas for improvement.
I like that.
And on that note,
Yes.
we've reached the end of part 1 of our deep dive.
Already.
We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, I can't wait.
In the next part, we'll delve deeper into some of these concepts and uncover even more practical tips to help you build confidence in speaking English.
Sounds good. Stay tuned.
All right, looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive on building confidence in speaking English.
Yeah, we've been unpacking some really valuable insights from the research.
You know, something we talked about earlier keeps coming back to me.
Oh, really? What's that?
That whole idea of confidence not being about perfection.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of learners get stuck in that perfectionist trap.
Yeah.
They think they need to speak flawlessly before they can even open their mouths. Like, they're waiting for this magical moment when they'll suddenly feel ready.
Right. But research suggests that confidence isn't a destination. It's a journey.
Exactly. It's a journey filled with, like, twists and turns, ups and downs.
For sure.
There will be days when you feel like you're making amazing progress.
Oh, yeah.
And then other days where you feel like you've taken 2 steps back.
Oh, I know that feeling.
But those setbacks are totally normal. They're all part of the process.
It's like anything you learn, right?
Yeah.
There are going to be good days and bad days.
Absolutely. And the research emphasizes that mistakes are not the enemy.
Oh.
In fact, they're incredibly valuable learning opportunities.
How so?
Well, think of it this way. Every time you make a mistake, you're getting feedback. You're learning what works and what doesn't.
Oh, I like that. It's like you're getting a little nudge in the right direction.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to embrace those mistakes.
Don't be afraid of them.
Yeah, see them as stepping stones on your path to fluency.
Now, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about accents.
Accents.
Yeah. There's so much emphasis placed on having a perfect accent.
Oh, yeah, like that's the goal, right?
Right, like it's the be-all and end-all of speaking English.
It's kind of crazy, but research challenges that notion.
Oh, that's interesting.
It suggests that your accent is part of your unique identity, a reflection of your linguistic journey.
It's like a badge of honor almost.
Yeah.
Showing how far you've come.
And instead of trying to erase your accent completely, what you should really focus on is improving your pronunciation.
Got it.
So it's not about sounding exactly like a native speaker. It's about being clear and understandable.
And using your voice in a way that feels authentic to you.
Exactly.
Now, another aspect of building confidence is learning to focus on your audience.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's so easy to get caught up in our own heads, right?
Yeah.
When we're speaking English, worrying about our grammar or pronunciation. But research reminds us to shift our attention outward.
To the people we're communicating with.
Yeah. Think about it. When you're having a conversation, are you more concerned with how you sound or with what the other person is saying?
It's all about connecting with the other person, understanding their perspective.
And making sure your message is being received.
Yeah. So instead of obsessing over every little detail, focus on engaging with your audience.
Asking questions, listening attentively, and responding thoughtfully.
That's what truly effective communication is all about.
That's a great point. Now let's talk about some of the practical tips we haven't covered yet.
Okay, which ones?
Well, one that I find particularly helpful is recording yourself speaking English.
Recording yourself, huh?
I know some learners might feel a bit self-conscious about doing this.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
But it's such a powerful tool for self-assessment.
Oh, in what way?
You can listen back to your recordings and pinpoint areas where you excel and areas where you need to improve. You might notice pronunciation patterns, grammatical errors, or even areas where your fluency could be enhanced.
So you can really analyze it.
And by identifying those areas, you can create targeted practice plans to address them.
Oh, I love that. So specific.
Another tip that I think is worth highlighting is joining language groups.
Language groups.
This is such a great way to get real-world practice and connect with other English learners.
Yeah, I love that.
Whether it's an online forum, a language exchange program, or a local meetup group, finding a community of like-minded individuals can be incredibly motivating.
It's like a support system.
It's a safe space to practice your English, share your experiences, and learn from others who are on the same journey.
Exactly. And you can get feedback on your speaking, exchange tips and resources, and even build friendships.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
And speaking of support systems, don't underestimate the power of celebrating small wins.
Whoa, wins.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the big picture, right?
Yeah.
And forget to acknowledge the progress we make along the way.
Like all those little victories.
Exactly. But celebrating those small victories can have a huge impact on our motivation and self-belief.
I totally agree with that.
Whether it's mastering a new grammatical structure, using a complex word correctly in conversation, or simply feeling more comfortable expressing yourself in English. Take the time to recognize and celebrate those achievements.
Because every step forward, no matter how small, is a testament to your hard work and dedication.
And by acknowledging those steps, you reinforce that positive feedback loop we talked about earlier.
Right.
Fueling your desire to continue learning and growing.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on one final point.
I'm all ears.
It's about finding what works best for you.
Uh-huh.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to building confidence in speaking English.
Right. What works for one learner might not work for another.
Exactly. So it's important to experiment with different techniques and strategies.
Try out the tips we've discussed. See what resonates with you personally.
And don't be afraid to adapt and adjust your approach as needed.
Because ultimately the goal is to find a path that feels authentic and sustainable for you.
That leads us to the final part of our deep dive.
Where we'll wrap up our exploration of this fascinating topic and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Easy English Talks podcast for the final part of our deep dive on building confidence in speaking English.
We've covered so much, haven't we?
We really have.
From, those benefits of feeling confident all the way to tackling those fears that hold people back.
And let's not forget those practical tips.
Yes, lots of good stuff in there.
One thing that's really stuck with me is this idea that confidence isn't a destination.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It really is.
It's not like you just wake up one day and bam, you're a confident speaker.
Exactly. And the research backs that up. Building confidence takes time. It takes effort.
And you got to push yourself.
You really do.
Mm.
And it's about challenging yourself to try new things, even when you feel scared to make mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And remember, those mistakes are actually super valuable.
So valuable, like those little signposts showing us where we need to focus.
I love that analogy. Now, everyone's journey is going to be different, right?
Of course, of course.
Some people will feel more confident in certain situations than others.
Totally.
And some people, might find different aspects of speaking English more challenging.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Yeah, try those tips. See what clicks.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment a little. There's no right way to build confidence. What matters is finding that path that feels good for you.
That's right. And it helps to have people supporting you along the way.
It makes such a difference.
Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who believe in you.
A good teacher, a language partner,
friends, family.
Having people to practice with, to talk about your struggles, to celebrate your wins.
Yeah.
That makes this whole journey so much more fun.
It really does. It's about creating a positive environment where you feel comfortable making mistakes and trying new things.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to share a really powerful idea from the research. The more you put yourself out there and actually speak English, the easier it will become over time.
Like anything you practice, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Exactly. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And with consistent practice, speaking English will become more natural, more fluid.
And way less scary.
So don't wait for that perfect moment or until you feel 100% confident. Start small, embrace the journey, and remember that every step you take is a step in the right direction.
You got this. Believe in yourself.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into building confidence in speaking English. We hope you found these insights helpful and that you feel inspired to continue on your language learning journey. Follow for more.